Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week. So that means cutting all my vegetables and making things that take a little bit longer. But today I'm just doing vegetables. So as always, I'm gonna start chopping up some veggies and I'll go over the meal plan. So first I'm just cutting some spring onions just for garnish, basically, for a couple of things. And I'll also do a couple of cloves of garlic. And what I need those for we'll get to in a moment. So for lunch today, I'm gonna have some bao buns. They're just store-bought. So not sandwiches for a change. Usually I have sandwiches on Sunday because I don't usually eat carbs during the week. So on the weekend I have my cheat days and I do miss sandwiches most of the time. So I'll have those because if you don't know, I'm diabetic and I have to cut carbs. So I cut carbs from most of my lunches except on the weekend. But yeah, I thought I would change it up this time, and bao buns were on sale, so I picked some of those up. So, and then for dinner tonight, I have some, I think I'm gonna do some spinach. I have some pork cutlets marinated, and I have some, I think I'm gonna do some potato wedges. But the vegetables, I'm gonna have 2 meals with spinach, 2 meals with green beans, and 2 meals with asparagus this week. I can still change things around because I only prep ingredients, not the whole meal. So I can just decide what I'm in the mood for most at that moment. So I still like having that flexibility. So let's just cut up 2 onions for a couple of things. Like what I'll have on Monday for lunch, Meatless Monday. I'm gonna do some eggs, like a frittata omelet kind of thing. So I need some onions for that, as well as the garlic, and I'll use some of the spring onions, etc. So, and then for dinner on Meatless Monday, I'm gonna do some lime cilantro rice. I've been really into lime cilantro rice lately, so I've been having it a lot. And I'll have that with some beans. And I just have a can of beans and like a chili sauce. So I'll just use those. Nothing too fancy. Then for Tuesday, oh, by the way, you won't hear me mention breakfast because I don't really eat breakfast. I'm just not a breakfast person. So I only plan lunches and dinners. But yeah, Tuesday for lunch, I'm gonna have some sausages with some peas. That's a last minute change. I was gonna do some lettuce wraps because I still had some lettuce left over from last week. But my nephew was here yesterday and he wanted sandwiches with lettuce, so I used that up. But I still had some peas in the freezer, so I'll just do that instead. My original plan was to take the sausages out of its casing, they're pork sausages, and use that as a ground pork basically. And then with some veggies on lettuce wraps, but since I don't have lettuce anymore, I just changed it around, and I'm just gonna grill those sausages with some peas. And the peas I'll probably do with like some chili crisp or something for a little bit of flavor, but also just to make it look a little bit better on a plate. But, yeah. Then I'm gonna I do Taco Tuesdays, so for dinner on Tuesday, I'm gonna do some sausage tacos. So like I discussed earlier, I'm just gonna take it out of the casing and saute that with some peppers, for example, that I have here, with chilies, onion, garlic. So I'll just dice those up. So cut them in half, take the seeds out. These are just the sweet peppers, by the way, but they're pointy. We call them punt paprika or pointy pepper in Dutch. I think they're called Anaheim in English. These are my preferred peppers just because they're a lot easier to cut and they're a little bit smaller, so I can just use a couple of different ones in different colors. I like using different colors in my food because I feel like having a bunch of color just makes you want to eat them more. So I'll just dice these up. So these will be in the tacos and the eggs, etc. Then we were on Wednesday for lunch. I'm gonna do some green beans with some pork. I have some of those cutlets that I'll have tonight. I'll have them left over, so I'll do them then. Then for dinner on Wednesday, I'm gonna do some pasta with some pork. So again, sausages, I'll take them out of their casing and use that in a tomato-based sauce. So for that, I'll also need some peppers and onions and all that good stuff. Then Thursday for lunch, I'm gonna have some sausages with asparagus, but again, I can change the vegetable around. And for dinner, I'm gonna have some sausages with some green beans and some potatoes, probably wedges. But I'm not gonna prep all my potatoes just yet because potatoes tend to dry out a bit, sometimes discolor if you cut them too early. Most of the things I'm prepping, they'll easily last a couple of days in the fridge. Some things like cucumbers, potatoes, they don't last that long, so I don't prep those. Or if I do prep them, I'll have them in meals at the start of the week, not at the end. So, yeah, then we were on Friday. I do fish Fridays. For lunch, I'm gonna do some salmon with some asparagus. No carbs with that. And I'll just grill the salmon. And then for dinner, I have some salmon and some puff pastry that I bought. That's in the freezer. And I'll have that with some potato wedges or some fries or something like that. Because I still have both in the... I still have potatoes left and I have some fries in the freezer that I could use. So we'll just see what I feel like most. So here I have some chilies. I have some cayenne that I'll just slice up. I'll leave the seeds in because they don't bother me. If you can't handle spice that much, even though cayenne are not that spicy, you can always take the seeds out. But I don't mind them, so it's too much trouble to take the seeds out for me. So that is cayenne. What I will take the seeds out of is my jalapenos. Not because they're super spicy, they're really not, but there's just a lot more seed in them, like you can see. So I like taking those out. And I'll just dice those up as well. And these chilies are gonna go in my tacos, in my pasta, my eggs. So basically the same things as the peppers. Then some tomatoes for my pasta. So I'm just gonna cut them into some rough chunks just so they cook down easier. You could absolutely just do canned tomatoes, tomato puree or something like that, but the fresh tomatoes were on sale, so I prefer using fresh whenever I can. And I just have 4 here that I'm quickly gonna chop up. And then I have some potatoes. I said earlier I'm not gonna prep them for later in the week, but these are for tonight. And I'll just cut them into some wedges. And I'll just throw those in the air fryer tonight with some oil. There we go. Then next up, have some asparagus for 2 meals. I'm just gonna see right at this end, this is a woody part, so I'm gonna get rid of that and save the rest. And again, if you bend it, you can feel it right there. It's where it wants to break. That's the tender part. and the bottom is the woody part. So I'll just do that for the whole batch. There we go. That's asparagus done. Then here I have my little julienne slicer, and I have a little bit of carrot left over. And I'll just use that carrot in my eggs and in my pasta. And I'm not going to bother peeling it since I'm essentially grating it anyway. That's carrot done, partly for flavor, also just for color. It will look nice in my my eggs. Like I said, I like adding as many colors as possible. So next up, I'm gonna do some green beans. I'll do enough for 2 meals. And I'll just quickly top and tail this whole lot. And that is all the green beans done. And then I just have one more thing to chop. And that's some cilantro for some lime cilantro rice. So as always, I'll just give it a rough chop first so it's easier to work with. And then I save the stems for things like curry paste. And now I'm just gonna keep running my knife through until everything is nice and fine. And there we go, we're at 16 minutes. So I now have everything ready to go, and I can have lunch or dinner on the table in minutes. So if you like this kind of content, well, usually I do a little bit more involved things, but today is just an easy week. But if you like this kind of thing, I do this every single Sunday. And if you'd like to see what I ultimately eat, you can check out my Instagram where I post every single meal, or you can check out the video that I post about once a month on here, where I show you everything I eat in a day for a whole week. So if that all sounds good to you, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Until next time, bye for now.